Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks for setting the stage for us. We appreciate that. So now I think everyone out there watching on YouTube today has a good, groundwork in terms of where we're coming from, why this is so compelling. And we're going to jump into the first panel. And we have two members on the first panel. As we said, I'm going to give them a slightly more extensive introduction than I did off the top. So first off, we're going to welcome Galen. And Galen is the executive director at York Angel Investors, an angel investor himself, and also the president of Novate Technologies, specializing in strategy, market development, sales operation consulting to technology startups. He has extensive C-level experience in sales, marketing strategy, and real global experience. We're happy to have him here today with us. And I'm also happy to welcome him and give him a personal shout out for being a great supporter of the Schulich startup community and the Schulich student community, as through our 4850 and 6960 and India in MBA internship program, those all being placement programs, the York Angels have taken in some amazing Schulich students, and we have a nice partnership going there. So welcome, Galen. And next up, it's my real pleasure to welcome Benton. And Benton and I are meeting for the first time, but I've heard so much about him over the years. I've been waiting to meet him, and I'm happy that this moment has brought us together. Benton is an angel investor and a key member in the Golden Triangle Angel Network, located in the Waterloo region. And he's also a general partner at Archangel, a new network of investors in Kitchener-Waterloo. And this year, as a response to COVID-19, Benton and Archangel launched an angel stage fund of $10 million. He served as an advisor to OCE and IAF. He's been a pitch coach to Team Canada at a major global competition where his teams did very, very well, came out at the top of the heap. And he also has held teaching and research positions in computer science at Berkeley and also at the University of Waterloo, which makes me think we need to get him more hanging out with Schulich. So welcome, Benton, welcome, Galen, and Jeffrey, over to you to have some fun with the first panel.
Awesome. Very excited. I'm a big fan of both of you guys, so this works out quite well. Okay, so, and I've had a few discussions, I think, with you guys in the past, so this will help things move forward a little clearer. So why don't we start by maybe just to give us some context, Benton, maybe give us a little bit of an idea of kind of what you're working on now, and kind of maybe that experience. I know you've been working on investment world for the better part of 15 years. I think it's been more than that, but maybe give us a little bit of a background and understanding of kind of where you're at and what the fund's doing, all that good stuff, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank you, JP. By the way, that was an excellent introduction to angel investing that you ran us through. So thank you for that. So
it's a work in progress.
I've been an angel investor for about 11 years now. I became one when one of the companies that I had founded back in the 80s had an exit. We were acquired, and so I was lucky enough to have a nice capital return, and with that, I became an angel investor. Now, over the past 11 years, I've been faced with two problems on behalf of both myself and my colleagues. One is, as you alluded to, Jeffrey, there's just simply not enough risk capital in Canada compared to Israel, UK, and the US. And so for some of the companies that we've invested in as angels, in order for them to really scale to become global companies, what we need to do is to introduce them to larger pots of money beyond the angel stage. And so I've been working with both angel investors and funds in China to provide funding for companies to be able to help them become global companies, as well as to break into the large domestic Chinese market. What we've learned probably applies to India as well. And so I welcome exploring along those lines. So that's one of the problems that I've been tackling, Jeffrey. The other one is that for most angel investors, unless they happen to have a very large bank account, they can invest in anywhere between 2 to maybe 8 companies. This is what I see in many of the angel groups. If you don't invest in a larger diversified portfolio, it's closer to gambling. There may be some big successes within the small portfolio that you have, but the chances of having really big successes grows as the size of your portfolio grows. And research that I've seen shows that the right size is about 30 or so companies that you invest in. Smaller amounts in a larger portfolio. And then your chances of actually hitting the real winners increases. You know that, Jeffrey, because you've started your own fund, and now Archangel is doing this for angel investors. We have a particular fund called the Adrenaline Fund, which is a sidecar fund. If angel investors from various angel groups make an investment, what we will do with our capital in the fund is to come and match or fill out the round. And so it's really triggered by the work of angel investors within angel groups. These are smart, experienced people. They know what they're doing. There's professionalism in all of the groups. And so we're quite happy to invest alongside them and provide additional funds for the companies, and also to help angel investors who join us as LPs grow that diversified portfolio of 30 companies.
I love it. Yeah, that's great, and I love the approach with the sidecar and being able to match funds. That's a great way to work with angel groups and continue to flow that cash into early stage companies. Galen, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us your background and kind of what you're up to right now, because you're doing some exciting things as well.
Sure. Thanks, Jeffrey. And hopefully I keep getting an internet poor signal here, so hopefully you're able to hear me. Okay. Give me the thumbs up if you can hear me okay there. Did I fall off, or am I still there? Okay, perfect. So we're working, so similar to Benton, this is a reasonably new asset class. And so we're trying to make sure that we're putting a lot more rigor around the process. Within York Angels, we're trying to walk the walk in the sense of putting more technology into our infrastructure to make sure that we can analyze these companies better, bringing teams together. So we're making sure that our members can get more engaged in the process. We believe that that's how all of our members can learn more about startups, to be more engaged. We bring expertise from all different industries, and we're not experts in all of them. And we're seeing companies that are quite diverse. So we're seeing companies, everywhere from fintechs to insurtech to medtechs. And so we want our members who maybe have a finance background, in an insurance company, how can they take that over and maybe take some of those learnings into a different area or expand their knowledge and be able to help out founders, in maybe the industry they're in or in a different industry. And so our goal is to continue to try to drive that education for our members, help them understand, picking up on Benton's, topic of how to structure your portfolio. You need to take a portfolio approach to this, almost like an index model, right? If you just invest in a couple of startups, you're most likely not going to have a great outcome. But if you can build up a portfolio approach and start to, invest in 10 to 15 to 20 companies, the statistics show that you actually start to move toward better gains and better opportunity, lowering the overall risk of that portfolio. This is a highly risky portfolio process, but the gains can be tremendous. And so, 2 or 3 big wins really can outdo all of the other losses you have. And so we're trying to continue to educate our members on what that's all about and how to be more thoughtful about this process of coming into angel investing. And so I'm super happy when I hear our members talking about what they're getting out of the education and learning more about what this asset class is all about.
No, and that's great. So I think where you're kind of taking this to is that you're providing a lot of value add. And I think that's really needed in this asset class, because there is a lot of new entrants that are coming into the space on a daily basis. There are people exploring, hey, I want to be an investor. I hear all these great things about being an angel investor. which is awesome. And we want more people to come into it. And I think you have to, if you're an investor or a potential investor, you have to think, can I give back? I want to give back. And I think that's kind of the key words to get you moving forward into this space. And then it's reaching out to angel groups or funds to say, how can you help me? How can I help you? And figure out what that value add is. And one of the things that you touched on, which I think is really kind of crucial to this stage where we're at in this conversation, is that I've got this portfolio, or I want to have a portfolio. I'm used to having portfolios when I invest online in stocks, but now I'm going to be doing something different. How do I shape this portfolio? What does that mean by being diversified? I have a friend that invested in 2 startups and they both failed, or I did and I refused to invest ever again. So how do I overcome this? And I think that that's a pretty common thing that's happened. And then a lot of angels exit and they never actually spend more time because they made 2 fails that they thought were bad, and then they never go back. So Benton, on this portfolio side, what do you recommend as I'm a starting entrepreneur or I'm a starting investor, I'm coming into something new? What do you recommend? How do I start off? Do I go in and put a lot of money on A and hopefully start putting more on B, or how do I do this?
And that's a very good question, Jeffrey, because often I see the enthusiasm of new investors and they see all these shiny new baubles floating in front of them, new tech, nanotechnology, med tech. Oh, it's all very exciting. And my advice to them is slow down. It's going to take 5 to 8 years before you get a return. You don't want to blow your entire wad during year 1 or year 2. And so you've got to take a more measured approach. So that's one piece of advice that I give. The second one is that you can start to build that portfolio just simply by joining as an LP in one of these funds that we've been talking about. Archangel is one. Jeffrey, you have another one with a supporters fund, and we can help with growing your portfolio, because as an LP, you would invest something like 25 or 50K a year for a number of years, and in fact, get a piece of up to 30 companies or so during that period. It's a lot better approach than just simply investing largely in individual companies that catch your attention. So that's one thing. It doesn't preclude you as a member of an angel group from investing additionally in companies that have a strong attraction for you, where you might be able to use your background and experience to be able to help those companies. So that's the value that angels bring. So I would say it's twofold, Jeffrey. One, become an LP in a fund that will help build that portfolio to decrease the risk. And 2, remain an active angel investor to invest additionally in those companies where you can add value.
No, I think that's great. And you're right. Those are the 2 ways to kind of get in there. And I think we could add a third one in. And I think this third one is that while you're trying to build a portfolio, it doesn't mean you have to invest, but you can come in as a board observer. You can start doing things that will help that company move forward and make you feel more comfortable when you're ready to make that investment, to slow it down, as you mentioned, Benton.
Right. And the people who are angel investors, the people who are successful enough to become accredited investors, they're smart, intelligent people with a rich background and a lot of expertise. And what we do as angel investors is that we put that expertise to work in order to help the entrepreneurs that we invest in, and sometimes even those that we don't invest in, right? We're just giving back to the ecosystem to make sure that Canadian companies succeed on the world stage.
I love it. And Galen, with all the work that you guys are doing at York, you've been really moving earth here and changing a lot of things on the way that the angel environment's been working within York. And you mentioned this earlier on how you're helping, and we just talked about board observers and different ways to get into there. How do you guys onboard that new investors so that they don't go out and spend on the first 2 companies they see? They're like, I'm in. And then after that, they're like, this is terrible. I can't help. I don't know what to do. So how do you kind of coach these new investors through, because you are seeing this quite a bit? How are you coaching them in? and slowing them down and getting them the breath and getting them to see what the fundamentals are and understanding and learning from the other more senior people, I guess, if you will. How are you kind of making that all work to make everybody in the community feel comfortable?
Sure, it's very topical because I just before this was on a networking session with some of our new members, and so let me just sort of lay the groundwork from angel investors versus angel groups. You can have individual angels and they're kind of doing all the work on their own, right? So they'll find their deal flow and they'll have to do their due diligence. And being part of an angel group, you're an angel investor within there, but you're looking at the strength of the group. And so the job that we provide as York Angels to our members who are all accredited investors is that help with that. And so what we do is we suggest to new members to get involved, to stick their hand up and go into due diligence, whether they are and we don't encourage them to make investments right away. We want them though to start getting into the process, understanding what it's all about. Go and spend a little bit of time with some of your peers, go through that due diligence, understand how to go and start to dig into the companies. We're dealing with companies that have very little financials, right? So there's a lot of other esoteric elements we have to look at. Who are the founders? So you made the point on your deck about the success of the founders, how much that means toward the potential success of the organization. When we survey our members, the thing they're investing is really in the founder. But also looking at things of, how big is the market? How big is the problem that they're trying to solve? What is the technology behind what they're doing? Is it new? Is it original? Those are things you're going to learn through the due diligence process. You're not going to learn that from a 10-minute pitch and 15-minute Q&A session at an investment meeting. You'll learn that through going in and getting access into their due diligence room and then sitting on a deeper call with those founders. So we really do encourage our new members to get involved as early as they can. And that will then also allow them to understand the strengths of their other members. And so if they now start to build relationships with those other members to say, hey, you know what, Jeffrey, boy, that guy's a real expert on machine learning. And now when a machine learning opportunity comes through, if Jeffrey's sticking his hand up, I might be more interested in kind of jumping in and looking at that opportunity because maybe he knows something more that I don't know. And so it's all that encouragement of as a group, we become stronger. We can now start to identify the better opportunities, the better startups, and then be able to apply our wisdom and our knowledge to become mentors, to then lead the due diligence, right? So go in and be a leader on that due diligence, especially if it's an area that you have strong domain expertise in, because now you might sit on the board for that company or become an advisor for that company. And that's really, to me, where you start to see the big smiles on the faces of the funders is when they've now started to really engage with those startups. And they are getting so much more out of it than just investing, right? And so that's what we really try to do as an angel group, is to make sure that we're helping to bring those members along so that in year 2 and 3, they become the mentors of the newer members that are coming in as well to the investor group, because again, we're trying to help and educate people, especially as we see more people becoming accredited investors. It's that opportunity to educate them and bring them along. And that's a big focus of what we try to do as an angel group. And Benton can speak to that on, what he's been doing with G-Town. He's somebody that I looked up to when I came into this role, and actually as a founder myself, talked to Benton very early in the process to understand what angel groups were all about. And so, we as groups also share our best practices with each other, so we can bring the whole Toronto ecosystem up and make sure that we're all performing at the same level, no matter where you go to within our ecosystem. Brilliant.
And how does, I think one question I got to pull out of this, well, there's lots, but the one I'm going to focus on is, what makes you accredited investor? Like, what do I have to do to get through this? Like, do I just go to my accountant and he says, you're good, kid, get in there, throw your money in? What do I have to do, and how does that process work?
So I could
Okay, go ahead, Galen, please.
Well, I was say I can bring up the form, but there actually is a definition within Ontario for an accredited investor. There are multiple items that you need to either have, right? So over $1 million of investable assets. So these would be non-house related, right? So that's one of them. I think have made over $250,000 in your last 3 years, or a household income above a certain amount. So there are real definitions around what is defined as a accredited investor in Ontario. You can see that, I believe, on our website at yorkangels.com, we have a link to that, so you can actually go in and see what it takes to be an accredited investor. Go ahead, Benton. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I was going to basically say that same things that you just went through, Galen. So that the threshold that most of our members meet is that they have $1 million in financial assets. So it can include cash, savings accounts, checking accounts, basically liquid assets. It also includes stocks or equity that you hold as well.
So save your money up, kids. If we want to get this rolling, we better get everybody lined up now. So we'll see you guys all in 1 year. You better be investing. All right. So
Jeffrey, if I may.
Yeah, jump right in.
Yes. Right in. So there are probably members of the audience who say, "Well, I fit that definition. How do I get started?" And it's very simple. All the angel groups in Canada are very welcoming organizations. Come to a meeting. Ask Galen about the next York meeting. Ask myself about the next G10 or Equation Angels meeting. Come observe. When you step in the door, there's no commitment for you to become a member. There's no commitment for you to actually invest yet. Sit alongside someone who does invest and see what tips you can pick up. When I got started in 2009, I knew nothing about this space, Jeffrey. I sat along someone who did, and it was just like osmosis that took place. And you'll find that many of our members are very eager to share what they know. They're not in your face. They don't force it on you, but you just watch what they do, see, hear the questions that they ask, and then over a period of months, you get to understand exactly what the process is and what knowledge you need to acquire, and people will help. Both of our angel groups, Galen and mine, have many education events that help new investors. Right. And our job is to make sure that you understand the risks, you understand what questions to ask, you understand both the upside and how you can increase your chances of getting a better return by applying your knowledge. So this is what we do. And we do this in order to make sure that the available capital in Canada is put to work in helping the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Hey, Jeffrey, now might be a good time to go to our YouTube audience because the questions are streaming in now and we've got a couple to go to. Good with you?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
All right. The first question for our panel here comes from Winton. He's an MBA at Schulich, just graduating, dreaming of one day making all that money and coming back as an angel. But for now, what he wants to know is what are a couple of the rewards or benefits of being an angel investor or being the networks beyond the capital return, beyond the financial side that you appreciate about being in this role?
Benton has a lot more experience at it than I do, but I'll quickly say, for me, it's spending time with some really brilliant entrepreneurs, people who are way smarter than I am, and being able to learn from them. I'm a lifelong learner, so continuing to learn from them. But the other is them being open to wanting to learn as well. And so, you get the feeling of also being a bit of an instructor and helping them along. I don't have any kids, so these become my kids, right? Like I really do treat them like I would want to be treated, right? And so I just get that big piece of it. And most of our members who do invest, that's what they're getting out of as well. Go ahead, Benton.
So I learned a lot as a result of being an angel investor. I see these brilliant young entrepreneurs come before us with these fantastic ideas in sectors that I don't have generally a lot of previous experience in. And as they talk to me and as I talk to them, I get to learn enough to be able to ask semi-intelligent questions. I come from a background of mathematics and computer science, but during the 10 years that I've been an angel investors, I've learned about nanotechnology. I've learned about green energy on the back of 18-wheelers. I've learned about med tech devices. It keeps me young. It invigorates me. And as Galen says, I sit with some really smart people that I respect, and some of their wisdom and intelligence rubs off on me. And there are lawyers in the room, there are doctors in the room, there are accountants in the room, there are people who've been in retail sales in the room, the food industry. It's just a great bunch of people to be with. And what I didn't realize when I first became an angel investor is how much social capital we generate amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we hang out together, we organize social events, we go to the bars, we talk about the deals. It's just a fantastic environment.
I think I would add in too that there's, Chris, you're on mute, but I would add in as well that, and this was kind of my next question for you guys, but it's a lot of I think when a new investor comes in, they want to know, how do I approach this business? How do I actually work with the founder? Do they care what I have to say other than just my money coming in? And I think to the points you guys are making is that it's a gradual process. It's, a founder isn't just going to take to you and say, oh, okay, great, you put some money and now I'm going to listen to everything you say. It's a gradual dating process, and they're going to learn from you. You're going to show your ideas, and you start to find ways to connect with these founders, just as you find ways to connect with the other investors. But it's a learning process. And I think that there's, you guys both mentioned it, that it's a massive learning opportunity. There's a lot of smart people in the room, from pitching to investors to partners, all of the above. And it really makes for a nice dynamic setting to be able to really dive into a company and support them moving forward. And there's so many different ways to support them as well. So it's not just for money. There's a lot of other elements that feed into that.
Going to jump in there with one more for this group, then I'll save some of the other questions for the next panel coming up. This one's interesting, and I've been wondering about this one myself. What are some of the privileges or restrictions that a Canadian investor might need to think about when there's an overseas investment that they're interested in as an angel? And maybe on the flip side, if you have an answer for this one, if an overseas angel is looking to join an investment in Canada, are there any considerations about cross-border type deals or syndicates?
There are a few. There are more restrictions that you have to worry about. So if I invest in a US company, I would not only have to abide by the regulations of the Ontario Security Commission, because I make my investment here in Ontario, but investing in a US company, I also have to abide by the regulations of the SEC in the US. Now, for me, I'm familiar with both sets of regulations because I happen to be an American citizen living in Canada. But yes, it becomes somewhat more complicated. And legal counsel, either on your side or on the company's side, should be able to help with navigating some of those extra regulations.
To add into that, a lot of it comes down from governance to taxes. So you 100% want to engage with legal counsel, your accounting firm as well. We take funds from different investors. We have an investor from Egypt, one from Panama, but they all have different subsidiaries that work inside of the US or in Canada. So there's always different vehicles that people are looking for in order to capitalize on tax benefits or their cash flow and where it is. And those things have to come out through conversations with accountants or international accountants or even legal side. So there is ways to make all of that work. You just have to have those discussions.
And I'll just add one more piece, which is the startup visa program. So Canada is, we really do want to try to encourage really brilliant people from outside of Canada who are looking to relocate into Canada and build their startups here. There is the startup visa program. And so there are designated organizations, either incubators angel groups and VCs. So York Angels is one of the designated organizations that can that a company can apply to for funding. And if they can get a $75,000 investment from York Angels, that would then start them on the process of getting their permanent resident visa in Canada and be able to build their company in Canada. And so we are looking to try to bring and grow companies within Canada. That really is our focus as York Angels. Is we have yet to make an investment outside of Canada. Like we would not invest in a company in the US or outside of Canada, but if they're coming into Canada, definitely we are very interested in wanting to work with those companies.
Perfect. So I guess that's the end for the questions then.
Yeah,
and
we're good.
We're good to go on that side. So we're going to bump into, go into our next panel. But before we do that, I'm just going to do a quick wrap up. Chris, does that work?
Yeah, that's perfect, Jeffrey.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to thank Benton and Galen for all of the comments and all the information you guys shared. It was brilliant. And just to kind of recap on that, I think the key to the start of the conversation is that there's just not enough risk capital going on right now in early stage investing. And in order for that to happen, we do look for and hope that we can bring in and attract more high net worth individuals or accredited investors, as we discussed, that would be able to come into this space to enable and help more of these companies that are looking to grow. And with that being said, as Benton alluded to, a great portfolio size is about 30 companies. But as Galen said, you need to be very diversified. You need to educate investors. You need to learn a bit about everything. So in order to be able to get into this space, you don't need to be running, use the crawl, walk, run scenario. So start off with that crawl, go into an angel group, go into a fund, learn a little bit about the process, meet some of the investors, ask a lot of questions. It's better to have more information than less. And then as you start to work your way through, you're going to start to find places that you feel better and more comfortable in making investment. So in saying that, working with startup investing is, I guess it's just like the dating scene. You're going to go out, you're going to meet some of the founders, you're going to learn what they're about, and you're going to decide if you can go into a long-term relationship with them and put some cash in or put some support in by helping them, but you're going to figure out what's the best approach and how you can operate and work within that company. But outside of that, lots of great notes as we always take. There we go. But I want to thank you guys for all of the valuable insights, and thank you again for chatting with us today.
Thanks, Jeffrey, and thanks to Benton and to Galen for serving as our first panel.